Hi guys, thank you for joining me today. And today we are gonna paint this lovely cute winter fella sitting on the branch covered by snow, Robin. Don't forget to download the workbook, it is in description below. And let's jump into it because we have a lot of work to get done guys today. Let's start with supplies. What do we need actually? Firstly, brushes. I used a big round mop brush, then a semi-synthetic round brush number 4 and tiny round brush number 2 for details. The tiny one has natural bristles. I would say it is Kolinsky brand. Then the eraser to remove lines, and I'm using this soft eraser all the time. Paper. This painting is A4 format, painted on 100% cotton paper. I'm using the Fabriano brand, but feel free to use your preferred brand. I highly recommend painting on cotton paper anyway. The brand is not such important in this case. Colors. We are gonna use a lot of them and mix them up to get lovely natural values, so don't forget to check out description below. This is my old watercolor palette I've been using for many years. To paint snow, I've used titanium white or white gouache. White gel pen is actually an amazing pen for enhancing highlights on Robin's feathers or just enhancing highlights anyway. Firstly, I fixed my paper on the paperboard simply with clips and I'm removing the hard lines. The reason why I'm doing this is that I don't like when the lines are visible after I finish painting. The tricky part is that if you cover pencil lines with a watercolor layer, you won't be able to get rid of them at all later on. So this is why it is usually my first step. Wet your palette with water and I'm gonna start off with a robin's belly. Wet this part with clean water and prepare a mixture of Davy's grey with a drop of water. Robin has on his body, I hope it is him, the separated part of orange feathers and the part going to the wings. And we are gonna paint this part of the wings first. I'm dropping down the first layer of feathers with a bold strokes. I'm not going with the brush back and forth. I'm not adjusting anything. I'm leaving there bold grey marks. Next, mix raw sienna with a pinch of Davy's grey so you get this lovely muted light brown and keep going. Adjust the colors a bit, mix them up on the paper, lift up some dark parts if necessary, and go ahead to paint the belly. The reason why I'm painting with a bold brush strokes is simple. I want to create a structured underlayer for feathers. Birds actually are fluffy creatures, so when you paint them flat, you just end up flat. All layers on the paper are counted, so once you start to paint along the shapes, and what do I mean by that, is you start to respect curvy, fluffy shapes, characters, you get the correct realistic painting. Bird's body is a big egg. Actually, I'm simplifying it here a little bit, but in principle, the egg has a round shape. Let's move on to the head while Robin's body is still wet. Mix Davy's grey with a dark burnt sienna and start capturing the head with gentle strokes, respecting the direction of the feather to go down from top of the head. Don't forget the wings. You might notice that my colors are pale and muted. It is because of the depth and vibrancy we are gonna build up later on. This stage is the first layer. I suppose the belly part is dry enough, so let's mix orange and go wild a little bit. Mix orange with a small bit of yellow and water and start painting the little neck going down. You can enhance and enrich the right part, like Robin's cheeks, and keep going around the beak. I'm not painting neatly, this orange part is pretty patchy, but that's okay. We will work on this part later on. Mix orange with a little bit of red into an intense, vibrant reddish color and paint along the edges of the beak and on the belly. Try to paint with small, brisk brush strokes and capture a round shape of the robin's belly. While waiting for our robin to dry up, let's paint berries. I just put it really simple. Mix the red color with a water and drop down the first berry. Don't forget that the berry is a small ball and it has its own highlight. Highlight is a white spot on the top to create three-dimensional effect. Now we can move on the second layer, I would say, and start to paint in more detail. Add shadows, feathers, vibrancy, depth. So let's start with the wings part. Switch your brush into smaller number 2 and mix Davy's grey with a pinch of Paney's grey into dark grey tone. Be sure that your layer is bone dry and let's have a fun here. Paint this layer with the tiny strokes. To paint it correctly, try to imagine a feather's coat is a robin's haircut. You can brush it right and left, make it bushy, neat or fluffy, and it all depends on the directions of painted strokes and their length. There is only one thing to be careful about. Don't paint feathers as a long hair, please. Otherwise, you end up with the princess hairstyle instead of feathers. Or the same is if you paint a feathers too small, you end up with a spiky ball instead of a bird. So try to find a balance, and I would recommend going for something more natural. To go natural, we have to create a natural colors as well. So mix watery Payne's grey with a burnt sienna and play with brown tones. I have three mixtures on my palette actually. Davy's grey with a raw sienna, pure Davy's grey and Davy's grey with a pinch of dark burnt sienna. Mix Payne's grey with a Davy's grey into a rich dark consistency and paint down feathers on Robin's tail. Mix Paney's grey with a Davy's grey into diluted color and start painting feathers on the belly. To paint the robin tail, to paint the robin's tail, I've already used the Paney's grey mixture on my palette. I didn't create anything new. Brown, Paney's grey, Davy's grey. Try to create a neat lines along the edges, as we need a lovely sharp tail. To enhance the tail even more, I mixed an ultramarine with a Paney's grey, and it will create a vibrant dark blue color, and I just drop it down. While waiting for everything to dry up, let's move on the part around the eye. Mix orange with a pinch of burnt sienna and drop down tiny feathers around the eye. Then mix raw sienna with an orange and keep going with feathers on the upper part of the belly. Because the previous layer is dry, the tiny brush strokes are not blending, and that's correct. This is how we create structure on the robin. A pinch of orange, mix yellow and orange, a pinch of orange, mix yellow and orange. Let's move on the cheeks. Feathers on the cheeks go in a different direction, meaning they are going up instead of down. So it seems like Robin has a plumpy cheeks. As you can see, I'm not creating any other mixture on my palette. I'm using all the colors I already have there. Don't forget to enhance feathers behind the branch and attach them to the rest of the small body. Let's move on the head. I've used a mixture of burnt sienna with a pinch of orange for these feathers. Paint them down, not too long. You don't want a bushy, hairy robin or princessy robin. Create for your robin a lovely haircut. as we paint down, the wings get darker and darker. So to get it, mix Paney's grey with a burnt sienna into a dark, rich tone. On the wings, paint neatly down to get crispy edges. The inside part fill up with a mixture of Paney's grey, ultramarine and water. I decided to enhance the tail a little bit, so I dropped down dark marks. With a dark grey mixture, paint here and there are feathers on top of the head. Now is the time to paint a small branch. Mix burnt sienna with water and start casually painting a branch. Just avoid the scoops of the future snow. Branches are painted a bit on, let's say, wishy-washy style, as they weren't dominant in the picture to catch your eyes. I need to enhance with a titanium white robin's belly, so dilute titanium white with a pinch of water and paint hairy lines here and there. These are actually small highlights, and bring life into a whole painting. Let's get the structure on the branch. Use the dark brown mixture on your palette, and I'm painting bold strokes. So my branch is a bit patchy, and it is exactly what I need. Paney's grey spots for contrast, and berries. Mix red with water and paint along the edges, and spread color to the central highlight to keep a round shape. You can enhance the upper part with a darker brown mixture. And actually, you should have rich, vibrant berries. The peeps on the berries I've painted with pure Payne's grey as such a small spikes at the very end. Okay, it's time to paint beak and facial features. Start off with a diluted watery brown mixture. The most important thing is to keep this facial feature having crispy, sharp edges. Then, with Davy's grey bottom part, create a lovely shape and fill it up. Dark brown lines on the edges. And don't forget to keep a white hairy line in the middle of the both parts. yellow mixture to add just a tiny feathers around the beak and attach it naturally to the face. To paint an animal's eye, the principle is the same. Firm hand and sharp edges. You don't want it to end up with smudged eyes or, even worse, with a cross-eyed bird. Mix thick Paney's grey on the tip of your brush and paint a perfect small circle. And here is a trick on how to bring life into animals' eyes. White highlight spot in the eye. This is the trick. And that's it. And now is the time to drop down snow. And it is gonna be fun. Just grab a dry brush and make it a bit fluffy with your fingers. Drop it down into titanium white on your palette, but only the tips of the bristles. Now start dabbing down a white messy marks. You can add a little bit of blue, just because snow also has a shadows and structure. Dab down over the branches. On the small branches, create frost on the berries, and you are done. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my today's tutorial and see you next time. Bye. Mwah.